Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I'm Phil Brilliant, substituting for Jeremy this morning. It is Friday, September 9th. It is 7:08 in the morning. I've said that now 23 times, so we'll keep going through. And it is about 80 degrees outside. It is hot, sticky, and it's going to be 93 degrees today, 95 tomorrow. So this is a great time to get up, get out, and do something. Remember, join the conversation, 732-505-1160, as I am joined on the line by Sandi Kornblum, a food allergy coach, and I'd have to say probably one of my lifelong friends who is married to my best friend. Good morning, Sandi.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. One of my best things about doing this show is I get to bring my friends on the line because they all have interesting topics, and yours is not only interesting, it is timely, and I had more feedback from local friends who said they wanted to hear from you than any other guest I've ever brought on.
Wow.
So you are in big demand.
Food allergies is a growing epidemic, unfortunately, so it is on the forefront of many people's minds.
And knowing you my entire life, or me, your entire life, whichever way you look at it, I know that this was not what you started out thinking that you'd be doing when you grew up.
Correct.
Tell us the story. How did you end up a food allergy coach?
My son, when he was 2 years old, which was almost 14 years ago, was diagnosed with life-threatening food allergies, and he has a severe peanut allergy along with some other allergies. And as a parent wanting to protect my child, as we all do, I immediately wrapped my arms around how are we going to manage this? You know, this is something he's going to have for the rest of his life. And it's our job to keep him safe and to teach him to be able to advocate for himself as he grows older. So it truly became more than a passion for me. It was all about protecting him. And I learned as much as I could. I changed my home. I made changes in the schools. And I did everything that I possibly could to keep him safe, and kind of became known as, you know, sort of the expert in town. And people started calling me, what do I do about this? What can I bring to school for this? You know, my cousin's friend has this. Can she call you? And I just started helping lots of different people. And I said to myself, I want to do this. I know what it's like to get this diagnosis about your child. And how can I help even more people than just, you know, my circle and their circle? And so I decided to become a food allergy coach so that I could reach as many people as possible and help them manage food allergies in their life. And that's everything from A to Z, from practical guidance to, you know, how to set up your home. How do I make the school safe for my child? How can I send my child to a birthday party unaccompanied by me, and sleepovers? And how can my child go to sleepaway camp? And how can we ever travel as a family? And all of those things. So really everything that has to do with practical guidance of living with a food allergy. And I've helped adults and parents who have children with food allergies. So that's really where it all came from, my personal experience.
Right, and you just hit upon you hit upon many things, but two things that, you know, quickly popped into my head is, one, you know, we actually let our kids grow up. And so it's not just about changing our lives and our home, but you have to educate that child who is dealing with this every day, because I'm quite certain now, as Zach is in high school at the age of 16, which I can't believe you just said that, you're not with them.
Right, and that was my goal from day one, that this wasn't my allergy and it wasn't my husband's allergy, although we were responsible for it at the time. It's Zachary's allergy, and he has to live with it for the rest of his life. I don't, but he does, and so I had to give him the confidence and the tools and the resources to be able to be out in the world advocating for himself. And that came at a young age. That came being on a play date at somebody's house without me. So, it's definitely baby steps, but, he's traveled without me to other states and out of the country, and he's gone to sleepaway camp. So there's plenty of opportunities, even though he's still considered a child, where he is on his own and he has to take care of himself because I'm not right beside him. So that really, to me, is the most important thing to do as a food allergy parent.
So
because if you continue, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I'll let you finish, and then I'll go.
I was just going to say, if you continue to do things for your child all the time, even as they grow up, and not give them some independence regarding this, they won't be able to prosper, and they won't fly when they really, truly are on their own.
Right. And what I was going to say is, now it's 14 years later, and I know, having been with you at restaurants, at other events, at special occasions, let it be a bar mitzvah or a party. You, as well as Zach, are asking those questions, and people need to know that, hey, I need to know what's in the kitchen. I need to know how you made this, because one little exposure is going to send him into some kind of downfall.
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't understand about food allergies is, and it depends on the severity of your food allergy, but if you're allergic to, for example, peanuts, you can't eat peanuts, but a lot of people also oftentimes cannot eat anything that might be cross-contaminated with peanuts. And what that means is, you can't use that same spatula that you just made something with nuts to go ahead and now prepare Zachary's meal, because there could be some contamination. So, when you're in a big kitchen and it's preparing the food, people in there are preparing the food for you at a big event, there's all sorts of things being made in there. So, it's really important to make sure it's not just about the ingredient not being in the food. It's about making sure that there's no possible contamination from what the allergy is.
And so that really brings that full circle, that focus on everybody who is around you. Okay, let it be grandparents, let it be aunts and uncles, and let it be school system. Because again, our kids go to school unless we decide to homeschool them. Okay. And so you're not always there, but at the same time, you need to trust those people that you're putting your kids around. So when we come back from break, I want to talk about your involvement in your local school system, as well as other school systems, and how you can help families with, and I call it a grassroots effort, because it really is, to bring awareness into the schools. So to protect the children as they get older, and to make sure that they are not exposed to things that will give them relapses. Again, please remember, join the conversation, 732-505-1160. We'll be back with Sandi Kornblum in a moment.
Stay tuned for Preferred Company with Joel Markell and Marianne Levy at 8. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin continues next. News Talk Radio, WOBM, AM 1160 and 1310.
Welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I am Phil Brilliant, substituting for Jeremy this morning. It is 7:22 on Friday, September 9th, and we're going to continue our conversation with Sandi Kornblum, food allergy coach. When we went to break, we started talking about schools, and we do send our kids to schools, and they interact with other kids who may not have food allergies, and so their family may not be as sensitive to the issues. So getting the message into school systems and getting schools to understand the dangers. How do we do that, Sandi?
It starts with creating a partnership, and as a brand new, if your child's starting kindergarten in a brand new school, my best advice is to make a meeting with the nurse and the principal. Find out what protocols and procedures are already in place in that school. Advise them of your child's allergies, and ask them what you feel is necessary to keep your child safe. You always want to ask for whatever you think your child's going to need during the day, because school's number one goal is to keep children safe during the school day. But you want to do it in a manner where you're getting the staff of the school on your team, really on your child's team. So it's not a you versus them if you don't like what you're hearing. You want to listen, you want to take it in, and then it's kind of like buying a house. You have a list of the things that you just will not, you won't give up, you won't compromise on, and those are the things that you want to go after with the school, that you want to ask them for. If it's revolving lunchtime or snack time or parties in your classroom, you want to say, would you do this? Can you do this? Or throw it to them and say, how can we accomplish this safely, to make it safe for my son or daughter? So you want to make a partnership because your child's going to be in that school for a long time, and you want people on your side. You don't want to go in and demand things because that can turn them off. So You want to work together. That's really important. Communication is the most important thing. You want to go in there and say, these are my child's needs. How can we accomplish this? And suggest ways in which they can possibly change their protocols and procedures if they don't seem sort of up to snuff. Right. So that's really the first step.
Right. And when you say suggest ways, it's really, go back to the fact of what you said. It's really kind of what you do at home. I mean, this is what we'd like you to do. This is what we're looking for. And then somewhere there's a middle, or there's what you feel comfortable with. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you feel comfortable that your child is in a safe atmosphere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it does take a team. It takes the teachers. It takes all the teachers at the specials that they go to. It takes the lunch aides and the cafeteria workers and the principal and the nurse. So it really involves a lot of people. Communication is key, especially the way in which you communicate is really important. Now, if you aren't getting proper answers and answers that make you feel comfortable and that you feel are going to be, enough protection for your child, there is something called a 504 plan, which is a legal document that goes through your pupil services or your special education department. All schools call it something different. But it is a legal document where you can specify accommodations that need to be made for your child, and the school is required to follow that.
Wow, I had no idea about that. Now, is that nationwide?
Yes. So, and I could talk for a long time about all the types of things that could go in there. I'll throw out one quick example of something my son had when he was in elementary school. So he didn't have a bathroom in his classroom, and when he was in kindergarten, I didn't want him walking to the bathroom by himself because I said to myself, the chances are low, but what if he's to have an allergy reaction when he's in the bathroom by himself? Who is he going to tell? Who's going to know? So I always wanted him walking in the school with a buddy when he was that young. So that's an example of a very small example of something you can put in a 504 plan that the school is then legally required to do.
That's a great example, and we have to go to a news break right now, but I think that's a good lead-in. When we come back is talking about what we can do relative to school parties and the lunchroom as a follow-up to that conversation. Remember, join the conversation, 732-505-1160. We'll be back with Sandi Kornblum after the news.
Coming up next, the latest from WOBM News, the Town Square, New Jersey News Network, and Fox News Radio. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from the Jersey Shore to the world. Get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Take the show wherever you go. Download the free Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. Join the conversation, 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning. Welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I'm Phil Brilliant. It is 7:36 on Friday morning, September 9th. I just actually heard the weather, and they said it's going to feel like 105 today. So that is a day to stay inside. We are continuing our conversation with Sandi Kornblum, a food allergy coach. Sandi, you there?
Yes.
we actually did have a caller, and so we have a small dilemma going on here. We had a water issue over a month ago, which kind of fried half of the board. And so we can only have one caller at a time, and that's you. So we did have a caller who called in and asked a question relative to food allergies being hereditary, and can multiple siblings have it?
Okay. Yes, they can be hereditary. They aren't always. Anybody can develop a food allergy at any time of their life. Multiple siblings absolutely can have food allergies. A sibling does have a slightly higher chance of having a food allergy than any other child if they have an older sibling with a food allergy.
Now, I would assume in your house and in your life, Amanda being 13, which is unbelievable also, has really grown up eating the same foods and kind of living the same lifestyle as Zach.
Correct, and that was a family choice that we made to make our house completely free of all of Zachary's allergens. And we've bent that a little bit as he's gotten older to benefit Amanda. But for the most part, our house has always been allergen-free of his particular allergies.
Okay, I'm good.
That's definitely a personal decision, but when children are young, I highly, highly recommend that.
Probably tougher as they get older.
Have babysitters and caregivers and, any type of house help in your home.
Definitely. Now, when we went to break, we were talking a little about schools and about building a safe environment and team for our children. And we talked a little bit about the lunchroom, but there's also, you have the school parties. And so how do you talked about the partnership, and that I thought the 504 plan was a great tip. Now, talking about this teamwork and the school parties, I know that you have a example of what you're working on right now in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yes. So we started with one of the 11 elementary schools, and I created a blueprint for them to become more food allergy aware and to educate their community. And we are now at the point where we are spreading that to other schools with other elementary schools in the district, and the entire district for all of the 11 elementary schools just beginning this school year is going food-free for all birthday celebrations in the classrooms. And that's my hope, that not just from a food allergy standpoint, but from a health standpoint, that schools follow suit to do that, because there are so many ways that don't involve food to make a child feel special on their birthday. And this way, all children are included. Right. Safety and inclusion at school are the top priorities for children with food allergies. So for them to be able to take part in what all the other children are taking part in is so important. And from a health standpoint, with obesity on the rise, with food allergies on the rise, with all types of other special needs that children have that food is possibly a factor in, it makes so much sense for schools to go in this direction.
Now, you don't live in Greenwich, Connecticut, but somebody reached out to you. How did they get a hold of you?
Yes, I can be reached by phone at 914-629-6124. You can email me at Sandi, that's Sandi with an I, at thefoodallergycoach.com. And you can reach me on Facebook at Sandi Kornblum, the Food Allergy Coach, and on my website, www.thefoodallergycoach.com.
That's the easiest one to remember, by the way, the website.
Yes, that's the easiest one.
So we have about a minute left of our segment here. Real quick, in a minute, tell us about how the EpiPen price increase has affected you and your family.
It hasn't yet affected my family because I have not yet needed a refill on the EpiPens, but it will. My concern is all of the other people out there who don't have health insurance or truly cannot afford the EpiPen. It is so dangerous for them. Now, a lot of people don't know there is a generic version of the EpiPen, which can only be gotten if your prescription says generic epinephrine. And it is significantly cheaper. It's in the $100 range instead of the $600 range. And It works differently, so it's extremely important for people to learn how to use it if they're going to go that route. I urge people to do that versus not refilling their prescriptions and walking around with no EpiPen or expired EpiPens. That is not a good idea. So this is something for people who may need a cheaper alternative to look into. But a pharmacy will not refill your prescription with a generic with that one generic that's available if your prescription does say EpiPen, because that's a brand name.
So you got to get to your doctor and have him put generic on that prescription.
Yes. I also recommend people looking at goodrx.com. It's also an app because you can put in your zip code. It will give you a list of what pharmacies are in your area and what the cost is. And there's also a discount card that you can get free of charge to use towards your prescription. That's another helpful way to get it for a little bit less.
Great advice. Real quick, as we're going off the break, one is that you have the FAIR, which is the Food Allergy
Research and Education. The walks are going on all around the country. The one closest to your area is at the Jersey Shore on October 23rd at the Great Lawn Pavilion in Long Branch, and I recommend everybody check it out. It's a wonderful family day for children with food allergies.
And people can get a hold of you one more time. Your phone number?
Yes, 914-629-6124.
And the foodallergycoach.com. Sandi Kornblum, thank you very much for joining me this morning. I think you have enlightened our audience on food allergies. I know you've answered a lot of my questions. I appreciate you being here. We'll be back in a moment.